Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Father Talks podcast. I am your host, Mike D. I am here with Mr. Paul Voss, father of 8, and he's got a great book that he wants to talk to us about. I'm not going to spoil any of it. I want Paul to tell us all about it, what it's like being a dad. He's got an interesting situation. I think that is very important for other men to hear. So, give us an opportunity to hear your story, because I know there's somebody else out there in a similar situation. So, Paul, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and floor is
Great.
yours.
Great. Thank you. And excited to be here. So as you mentioned, I'm a dad of 8.
Yes.
My youngest was diagnosed with autism 3 years ago, level 3 autism, which is they do a scaling, and that's the most severe.
Okay.
What's interesting was, we thought we were done with 7 kids. So I was actually scheduled to go get a vasectomy, and 2 days before, my wife's like, just cancel it. And
Yeah.
obviously I didn't need to be talked out of it. So I'm like, yeah, I won't do it. So we ended up getting pregnant with our 8th, and she was born. Everything was great. She was born 2020, so that was, you can imagine, a shit show because
Yeah.
we had to we ended up getting it scheduled because I'm in Connecticut, and they were talking about keeping dads out of the hospital because of COVID concerns.
COVID. Right. Right.
So we ended up getting it scheduled, and everything was fine. It actually went well. It was probably the best birth experience we ever had because we got out of the hospital quick because they were kind of kicking everybody out.
Right.
Um, and then 2 years later, in January, COVID hit our house, hit us pretty bad. My youngest daughter just stopped sleeping, like would stay up, would wake up every 2 hours, even when we got her to go to sleep. And then we just saw this like decline over time. We ended up doing speech therapy, and they recommended that we get her checked for autism. So not long after the diagnosis, I had kind of had an idea of writing a book, but with working and with 8 kids, I know with 9, it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
hard.
I've got 9, so I understand the struggle.
So I started writing it originally with the idea because when you first get an autism diagnosis, you start looking online for help. And there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of good stuff, but there's also a lot of people just trying to sell you stuff. And you have a hard time determining like what's real, what's not. And from my perspective, I just wanted to share initially what are the 5 or 6 things that we did that I knew showed immediate impact. Nothing that was even questionable. So we did this, and then she slept 6 hours. Very straightforward. But ironically, as I was writing it, I started to see, well, there's actually a lot of good things that have come out of this autism diagnosis that impacted my whole family in a positive way. So we made a lot of health changes. We changed our diet. We got off processed foods. We went gluten-free, dairy-free. And my oldest son was actually diagnosed with ADHD earlier, and as a result of the diet changes, he actually is an honor student now and came off his IEP at school. So we did
Really?
see, yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it. We saw, a lot of other things. We just started implementing the things that we're doing to help her just across the family. And I kind of had to shift a little bit. As I was writing the book. It came out in November. It's called Autism Sucks: Finding Hope in the Chaos, because I really wanted to relate to the parents and the dads in this space, as you mentioned.
Right.
I don't think there's enough dads. There's a lot of moms that are doing a lot. I just feel
Right.
like the dads, there's just not enough male voices in the space.
Right. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because you know dads don't have enough. We don't have enough space to talk to each other, you know, about emotional issues or whatever. So having a autism diagnosis in your family as well, where else can dads go to, what? Hey, I need to talk to another dad who might understand what I'm going through. So I thought that,
Yes.
you would be really important for anybody who might be going through something similar. So, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and it's kind of with the dad piece. Like one of the things early on, so she's non-speaking, non-verbal, and I remember as a dad thinking like I may never hear her say "I love you," and that kind of crushed me as a dad, right? And it's like, who else can relate to that? Because you don't see it out there.
Right.
Um, one of the funny things about it though is I ended up, as I thought I was done the book, I heard her say "I love you" for the first time,
No
and
way.
yeah, it was pretty incredible, I'll say that. But what I realized is like it really wasn't that important because she's had to show me the way she loves me over the 3 years since the
Right,
diagnosis, and that's still way more meaningful than anything she says. Now, again, I was elated, she said it to me twice, hasn't said it again, but, it was incredible to hear, but, yeah, it
right,
just
right,
it's funny because you want something so bad, you think, "Oh, like, that's what I wanna hear," and you hear it, and you're like, "Well, it really wasn't as good as just all the different things she would do to just show me how
right.
much she loves me."
It's amazing. First off, again, kudos to you and your wife, because this is definitely it's gotta be raising a family without anything going on is hard enough. Then you have a large family, which adds another component, and then having a child with special needs, you know, that just compounds everything else that goes on in daily life.
Yes.
So kudos to you and your wife because I know this has to be a real team effort,
Yes.
you know. So congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
Um, put my old man glasses on.
Yeah.
Um, so literally, I don't even know where to go just yet, because
Yeah.
I had a child, who was in a severe car accident, and that was hard enough, getting through that.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to like, okay, so what did you do? Like when you guys first got when you got the first diagnosis, was this something where, and I've heard people say, like they felt this was something they did wrong, or hey, why did we know this before? You
Yeah.
know, so tell us when you first found out.
Sure, and it's funny because when we first heard the speech therapist say, "You should probably get her checked for autism," I think the
Okay,
reactions were different between me and my wife. So my wife was crushed, but I was kind of like, "We definitely should," and I think we wanted different results from the test. I think my wife wanted to hear no. My thought was, we already know something's wrong, and if it's not autism, then like what the hell is it? Because she's meeting all the signs. So, not saying I don't think necessarily was like I hope it's autism, but I was kind of thinking that well, at least if it's autism, it's expected, and if it's not, we have to
right,
go a whole other series of exploration to figure out what's going on here. I'll never forget the call because it was with the did the testing. We had the call with the doctor, and she told us May was positive. She had autism, and
okay,
she never told us the level, which I really appreciate because I think if we had heard level 3 at that time, it would have been a bigger blow to both me and my wife. She
mm,
just said, "I don't like to give a level. She's still young, and things can change over time." But what I realized when we first started hearing about autism and this could be a possibility, I had no idea what autism was. Like I had kind of an idea in my head, but she would make sounds. So I was like, how can she not speak? She's making sounds. This doesn't
right,
logically, you're like, this doesn't even make sense. She should be able to talk fine. And it just kind of sent us on a journey from that point forward to figure out like what we wanted to do and what we thought the best path was to help her. Um, I had to unlearn a lot too. So one of the first therapists we worked with recommended CBD oil, and I was like, "No, like, I don't wanna give her that," like, I kinda thought of the same thing as smoking a
yeah,
joint, and I'm like, "I'm not giving her that." And, we delayed giving her that, and it's funny because in the book I mentioned we eventually did give her CBD oil, and, one of the issues she had was she would make us carry her everywhere, like, everywhere, even, like, walk around the block, grocery store, and as she gets bigger, it's not fun carrying a 4-year-old around everywhere. And the first day we gave it to her, she literally walked around the block by herself. So it's for me, it was like unlearning stuff and just kind of keeping an open mind of like, okay, what will help my daughter, and what do I need to eliminate that were like preconceived notions in my head.
right,
That happened with a lot of different things. Like grounding was another one. So there's a concept of like earthing or grounding that the ground has energy in it, and, when my wife first told me about it, I'm like, this sounds like made up. There's no way this is real.
right,
And I did my own research. I read a book on it, and I'm like, okay, I think there's something to this. We ordered Amazon has them all over, but a grounding mattress pad. So it's basically is like grounding outside, which is the concept, just standing barefoot outside.
right.
And
And see, I've heard something like that before.
Yeah, a lot of it's funny once you kinda know more about it, like, you start to see it everywhere and people
Yeah,
talk about it, but if you think about it, like, if you go outside barefoot, you always feel better, like, just go stand in the grass and barefoot, like, you do
yeah.
feel better. But the first night we put that on her mattress, she slept 6 hours straight, and that was, like, I mean, you talk about a game changer when she was waking up every 2
I
hours.
was just about to say, going from every
Yeah.
2 hours to 6 hours, I imagine you guys probably woke up in a panic, thinking something was wrong.
We definitely kept kinda checking on her, to make sure everything was okay, and like, it didn't fix all her sleep issues, but consistently, it got her 6 hours of sleep every night, and again, mentally, as a parent, getting 6 hours, like you said, way better than waking up every 2. Yeah.
Easy. So that small change made, a 6 hour difference, a 4 hour difference. It's
Yeah, and
wild.
the other big thing was, like, diet changes that, I mentioned we went gluten-free, dairy-free, no processed foods, and, like, that helped our whole family. My oldest son, we
Yeah.
tried medication, it did not work. It actually had a really serious, side effect where he started talking about suicide. So we pulled him off of it. We met with his pediatrician at the time. She said pull him off it. And at that time, we didn't really know what we were going to do as the next step, but we weren't going to put him back on any
Medication,
medication.
right.
But the diet changes helped him more than anybody in our family. So it was cool to see again things we did really to help our daughter have a
Yeah,
positive impact on others.
right. And it's amazing that something as simple as a diet, can produce such changes, you know,
Yes.
you got an unintentional, change to help your son and more people.
Yes.
Hell, my older boy's got ADD, and
Mhm.
I wish we had thought more about, well, granted, my kids are a little bit older now, but
Mhm.
these weren't even things that were out there,
Yes.
when my kids were younger, so it would have been nice to know you had this sort of resource, knowing
Yes.
that, wow, well, I heard about this person doing this. And, you always hear a bunch of things, like you said, when we first
Mhm.
started talking, you hear about all these remedies for this, remedies for that, but most of them, are just, hey, a quick, it's a money grab.
Yes.
So
Totally.
you're hopeful that, hey, well, this will help with ADD and this will help with, back issues or whatever have you, you know, and come to
Yes.
find out it does none of those things.
Yeah,
So,
totally agree.
all right. So, you talk openly about exhaustion and isolation, especially the years almost no sleep. Uh, what did chronic sleep deprivation do to you mentally and emotionally?
Yeah, I think if
As a husband and dad.
for me, it definitely impacted my relationship with my other kids. Shorter temper, right?
Right.
It impacts other parts of your health. You're not going to work out because you're tired. Always looking for, well, I'm tired. I don't want to work out. But I think mentally, it really just made me just feel sluggish. Again,
Right.
short temper, just not being the best I know that I can be, and it just I think temper was the worst because
Right.
you're just you need sleep.
Yeah. I know how I am when I get a lack of sleep, and I'm liable to bite your head off for the smallest thing. But
Yes.
I'm aware of that is, hey, I'm tired. Just give me a little bit, guys. I'll get back to you, and we'll get it all straightened out. So, but yeah, I can. Man, like I'm trying to think what I would do would have done in your situation, and I think for me, we would have probably been in trouble because again, over the last few years, I realized that there's there are so many resources now that were not around. Like I said earlier, when my kids were still young, so it would have
Yes.
been great to have somebody to, I mean, hell, just even talk to, you know.
Yes.
So I can't imagine you going through this 20 years ago, you know,
Totally.
and trying to get through this. What does it do to your, not having the resources in place? What does it do to your relationship with your kids? What does it do to your marriage? Because, and again, this is something that, have caused people to get divorced because
Yes.
you got two people trying to work towards taking care of the same child, but both of them are running into different challenges, you know. And
Yes.
so for you and your wife, and again, 8 kids, it's a lot. And so
It
to
is.
see you come out the other end, so far, okay, we need more of this story, or more, hey, people can pick up this book. Hey, you know what? Paul wrote this book. I heard it on with these guys talking about it. maybe there's something there that can help me. So
Definitely.
um, so how have things been with the rest of the kids?
Yeah, it's tough because with autism, you do have to spend like it's just money out the door all the time. Like there's no shortage of, again, supplements that she needs to take, different specialists that have different ideas of what'll help.
Right.
But it's really made them be better siblings, I think, over time. They've become more caring and understanding, I think, even of others.
Yeah.
Um, you know, my one daughter, we've heard from the school that she purposely is looking out for kids with special needs in her school and has become friends with them. So, you know,
Doing that.
maybe she would have done that before. You never know, but
Right.
I do think part of it was having, her youngest sister have autism, that she kind of now looks to, just be friends with more people and really care for them in school and just try to
Right.
be a good friend.
Yeah. I mean, she has a better insight of what some of these kids are going through. So I mean that's outstanding. We we teach our kids how we want them to behave in society. You know,
Yes.
but you don't know how those lessons really affect them until they're out in the world. So
Totally. Yes.
yeah. So you hear that she's doing this in school. You know, obviously her involvement with her sister,
Mhm.
has opened her up. To where she can, she has a special place. She understands what these kids are going through, so she wants to help out as the best she can. And
Yes.
let's be honest, a big portion of that has got to be parenting as well. You know,
Yes.
so you guys are sounds like you're doing a great job. And I mean you still got all your hair, so that's a nice bonus. You know,
Yeah.
because you've got girls, I've got girls, and it can be daunting. My oldest is, oh my goodness, 34. Yeah, she's 34, and I've got one more in the house, and all I ask is that what, be good people. When you're out
Mhm.
in the world, be good people. Try to do no harm. You don't have to like people, just be good to them. So uh, so you weren't looking for miracles, just progress.
Yes.
Uh, where were where were one or two practical changes that you guys made at home?
Yeah, there were a lot of different things we did. I think one of the biggest things was adding a sauna, and
Okay,
so we looked into it a lot.
okay,
There it's becoming definitely more of a trend, becoming more popular, but we added it maybe like 2 years ago, for obviously my daughter, but from our family perspective, we've tried to use it consistently daily as well.
yeah,
It's helped me from just a mental clarity perspective, doing 30 minutes in it every day. It really helped my daughter. I mentioned grounding helped her stay asleep for 6 hours, but one of the things it didn't do was help her fall asleep easier. So once we got her to sleep, it was good, but she still was having trouble falling asleep. So the sauna definitely helped with that, making her really tired at night. So it was just easier to kind of put her down in bed and have her fall asleep. One of the other things we did, which I never thought I would do, so like kind of going back to like the unlearning of things,
right.
we actually took screens away from her, and like TV and iPad. And again, just if I had a list of things I would never do, that would have been on a list. Like, oh, like kids, you know, TV isn't bad in small increments. But what we found out is she would just get so frustrated when she was watching TV, like aggravated. And so one time when we were coming back from being away, I like ran in the house and took the TV out of like the kids' playroom. And it'll be 9 months now. And that had a huge impact on like meltdowns, which is a big thing in autism too, like having the meltdowns and like then getting them to kind of calm back down. But that one, again, I'm like, this is crazy what kind of impact it had just taking away the TV. And she
So
really did miss it.
real okay. So the TV would cause her to have the meltdowns. And that
Yeah, I think she would
okay.
get frustrated that she would get obsessed with certain shows and like just want to keep watching them all the time. And if it
Okay.
wasn't what she wanted right away, it would kind of spiral into a meltdown. And she's been great about not even, there's TVs in other rooms. I think she kind of saw the TV in kind of the kids' playroom. Definitely didn't get rid of all TVs because, love NFL, love sports.
I was
So
about to say,
not doing that. No.
what about during the football seasons? I
Yeah.
mean, You can't live on the moon during the football season.
No,
You
definitely
know,
not. So we did not get
uh,
rid of all TVs, but yeah, just kind of the TV she watched primarily, and
right,
she's never asked us to put anything on the other TVs, and it's been great though because we would those the meltdowns, like I said, they would spiral and they could be like 20, 30 minutes where you're just sitting holding her, trying to just calm her down,
calm it down. Right.
refocus her on something, and that was a really big one that helped a lot.
Okay. So, and again, please forgive me because
Hmm.
I don't know about autism.
Hmm.
I've heard of
Yep.
it. But so with the meltdowns, is that
Mhm.
how does what triggers that, or uh, like is it frustration? Like, are they, you know, how are they trying to express themselves? I have no
Yeah.
idea. So I'm asking because I want to be more informed.
Sure, and it's a really good question. I can only say what I think I know because
Okay.
with her being nonverbal, it's hard to always know. But I do think there's something she wants and she can't communicate it, and whatever she's
Okay.
looking for, we're not meeting that need as the parent at that
Right.
time, and so then it just kind of spirals, and we don't know what to do, what she's looking for, and she gets upset, and it,
Gotcha.
it gets to be aggressive, right? Like there were times where she would kind of hit me, grab my face.
Yeah.
Biting was a really big thing, so we literally had bite marks all over our house,
Right.
where she would bite into things when she was frustrated, having kind of a meltdown. So
Yeah. And she
it
can't tell you what's wrong.
yeah.
Wow. I can't. And for me, I am, well, at most dads, we're fixers by nature.
Yes.
So when our kid is in distress, or somebody in our family is in distress, our immediate reflex is to try to fix whatever's wrong. But then if the person who's in distress can't express that to you, what do you do?
Right. Yeah, there's all you can do. And then, as the parent, you're frustrated and you're trying to like show her
Right.
different things. Like, is this what you want? Is this what you want? And none of it is usually
What you
what she
want.
wanted. So
So, so have you guys, are there, so is it other things other than like the TV, or, does she have, is the meltdown, does it happen frequently?
yeah, we've seen a big drop in them. And
Okay.
there's some other things we added in again, kind of as like things I never thought we would do. I think we found nicotine patches help tremendously. And I'm obviously not a doctor, but there's been studies done on it too that you can find online.
Okay.
Low dose nicotine, so
Right.
just from a patch, and that helped tremendously. But we're at a point now where she's really not having meltdowns. So that was a big win for us as well. And I
Right.
do write about the nicotine in the book because I
Yeah.
again kind of unlearning, right? I grew up in an era where nicotine was tied to cigarettes and everything.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you saying that, I'm like, they're gonna give nicotine to a child? How's but you said in low doses in a patch. So,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Very low dosage, limited time frame, and that helped tremendously as well. So the screens in that, like we don't have meltdowns really
Yeah,
anymore. If she does get upset, it's like for a second and then she calms back down. So
right,
that's been, mentally, I think for me and my wife, really significant because and a time saver, honestly, because we would probably spend an hour a day, holding her or trying to help her to figure out like what's
right,
wrong and how do we get you calmed down and kind of back to a state where you're not screaming and crying.
right. Personal note, how's it been for you and your wife's relationship? Because I know
Yeah.
this has had to be challenging. We struggle on a
Mhm.
day-to-day basis, to be able to communicate on just regular life. The two
Yes.
parents working, balancing work, kids, and everything. So now you're throwing a child with a disability in there. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, it's a really good question because it's hard, right? If you look at the statistics for, I know you mentioned before, parents of special need kids, the divorce rate is significantly higher.
Yeah.
I think early on there was a lot more fighting and us maybe taking out our frustrations on each other,
Right.
especially when we weren't getting sleep. We've really worked hard to kind of talk things through, and I think personality wise, we've had to really work through it because she's more of we're not doing enough, and I'm more of like we need to kind of measure and see, do one thing at a time, see what's sticking,
Right.
what's not
See
working.
what works.
Yes. So I think we've just had to compromise and really just spend a lot more time talking at night when, she's asleep about,
Mm,
okay, what's next? What are we going to do next? What do we like about this specialist? What do we not like? And it wasn't easy. It just took a lot of time. I think sharing information back and forth of like what we found and why we think it would help has helped a lot. And then kind of talking about it after she's always sending me podcasts. I'm always sending her podcasts, different things to research. And I just
yeah,
think that's helped a lot. And I think reminding each other of like the benefits that have come out of it have helped a lot too, right? Because I know we both had times where we were like, this is awful. Like, why us? Why are we dealing with this? And I think there's both been times where we've kind of told each other, well, if it didn't happen, then we wouldn't have seen this or learned
right.
this. And I think that has helped a ton.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, though, with your guys' diet changes and that,
Mhm.
you managed to help your son out, you
Yes.
know? So, I imagine, God forbid, that you guys didn't make these changes where he might be, you know?
Yes.
So, blessing in disguise, you know,
Totally.
where it's amazing how sometimes traumas and, hardships force us to be better. We're
Yes.
we're better people, we're better for each other, we're better for the rest of our family because
Hmm.
we've gone through this hard thing or we're going through this hard thing.
Hmm.
And because we care so much, we want it to work. So now we have to work that much harder to keep those things together.
Yes.
You know, so um so with the kids, how the kids doing?
They're all doing great. We keep
Excellent.
them active in sports. So I mean, you think
Right.
about it too, like just managing to that schedule. We try to bring
Oh
our
yeah.
daughter to every event or sporting event we can.
Okay.
But we're constantly. It's like whether it's football, wrestling, basketball, lacrosse, soccer. We're a big believer in keeping the kids involved in sports. So
Right.
we're kind of always running around on weekends. But
I'm having flashbacks.
oh,
Oh
nice.
my god. Everybody's got something going on. Like,
Yes.
my your entire weekend is always dedicated to sports.
Yes.
When was the last time you guys went out to dinner?
Great question because it was last night.
Really?
Yeah, the nice
Good
thing
for
is our
you.
our oldest is 17, so she's great with
Okay.
babysitting. And they it's funny, when you asked about how the kids, being better people outside, you always wonder. I mean, we see the worst as parents, right? Like we're yelling
Oh,
at them
yeah.
for not cleaning up. Like you never really know like how they are outside. But there was a time, maybe a year ago, it was a Sunday, I'll never forget. We were just hanging out at home, and my youngest, who was on the spectrum, was in the dining room. She fell
Yeah.
off the table. She climbed up on stuff all the time,
Yeah.
jumped off, um, cut herself open. It was clear she needed to go get stitches. My wife was in the middle of making dinner. We told the 7 other kids, look, like just try to finish dinner. We're gonna go to urgent care, get stitches. We'll be back. And I'll never forget, like we went, got our stitches. We came home. Not only did they finish dinner, they had cleaned up. The oldest ones made sure the youngest ones
Yes.
got their bath or shower. Like I remember both me and my wife were like, wow, like they do listen. And like we were just so happy that they did that because again, day to day I'm yelling at them to clean up,
Right.
stop screaming, stop fighting.
Yeah,
And
mine
when you see something like that, you're like, wow, like they really do listen.
yeah, and that's see, I love stuff. I'm a big old softy and so when I hear stuff like this, it lets me know that, what, when we as parents, we don't think that, we're doing enough for our kids or we're not teaching them enough. Hearing stuff like that, that's outstanding. Um,
Yes.
th- wow. All right, so real quick, there's a lot of pressure on fathers to be strong and silent. In your darkest seasons, what were you afraid to admit to?
Yeah. It's one of the things I was most afraid of. I would pray a lot and
Yeah,
I would always ask like why May? Why her of all?
yeah,
Because when you look at statistics too, girls don't get it as much as boys. Like none of our other kids had it. So it's like how like it's probably like a 1 in a million chance or even higher that she would even.
really,
Yeah. So it's like why would she? And it's funny. I was praying over one night, and I heard the voice of God, and it was, "You would have killed yourself." And
right,
it's funny because that was all. That was it. Nothing else. You would have killed yourself. And I'm like, wow. Well, what does that mean? it's a little bit about me. My mom was diagnosed with schizophrenia when I was young. She attempted suicide multiple times in my life, and she was institutionalized. So that's always been weighing on me, is like a fear of like, do I have it? Like, would it ever
Right.
turn on at some point in my life? And then the other thing was, well, I've made it to 41 without ever attempting suicide. Like, what could be so bad that I didn't experience already that would have made me? Because I took it down the route of like, oh, I would have committed suicide. I would have killed myself. And what could be so bad that could happen now that I would have killed myself, but now I'm not because I have a special needs daughter. And it was probably like another 8 months of me praying. And it was like I heard the voice of God again. And it was basically saying, I never said suicide. It would have been your health. And
Yeah.
so that was when I was like, oh, I can, like, I didn't want to tell my wife or kids like anything about that because it's like scary to even bring up. But once I heard that, I told my wife about it. But stuff like that, I don't know who to talk to when I'm dealing with that stuff. And I think a lot of dads struggle with how do I tell, who can I even tell without looking like I'm crazy?
Right. But
Um,
all of us struggle, whether we want to admit it or not.
yes,
All of us struggle. So don't think for a second that it's just you. It could
yes,
be this situation or another situation. We are always struggling with having somebody to talk to, you
yes,
know. So you're fortunate. Uh, you're fortunate that, you've got somebody that you can lean on.
yes.
So,
I,
but no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, praying a lot is important to me, and I do, honestly, like podcasts have been so helpful to me and my wife. I would say so. This is why I love what you're doing so much because
Yeah.
there's so much helpful information in them that can just, I think, help guys especially relate, right? Because even if you don't have a guy to talk to, it's like, oh, I listen to this podcast, so I can relate to
Right.
them. Like it
See,
just makes you feel better.
right, and that was, another gentleman I talked with, he's got 3 girls, you know, um, and his big thing was the same it was the same thing. There was a point in time with his oldest daughter, he said that, he just wasn't involved the way he needed to be. He wasn't engaged, and he felt so horrible about it, but he didn't have anybody to talk to about it,
Hmm.
and him and I were going back and forth, and he pointed out that, "You know what? If I can help just one other guy in this situation, then you know what? I'm winning."
That's awesome.
And with you, same situation. I mean, there's guys going through exactly a situation similar to yours,
Mhm.
or if not the same thing, but
Yes,
hearing your story might be what they need, you know what, to take that next step forward. And then the next step after that. And so that's kind of the goal of the podcast is just really getting guys, a place just to be heard,
hmm,
because again, there's not enough of it for us, you know, and either it's because there's not enough, we don't know about it, or society in general, makes it seem like, men can't we can't have a softer side or need everything that needs to get done. We need to get it done with a stern face and never show weakness,
right.
and that is destroying a lot of men,
Yes, it is.
so you mentioned that you prayed a lot.
Mhm.
It is nice to hear that somebody can openly talk about their faith and not be, you know, worried about being judged because no judgments here.
Mhm.
More guys need it,
Yes, they do.
so, um, you know, I am, no, I won't say I have faith. I believe that there's a higher power. Just there was a point in time where I lost faith in the people who preach the word, but not the word itself, you know?
Yes,
So that's I like I like hearing that, that you pray for your child, you pray for your situation and everything. You know, we need more of it and we need men to be okay with being able to say, hey, yeah, I got down on my knees and I prayed because I
yes.
needed some guidance, I needed some help. So
It's important to figure it out for yourself too, like
yes,
learn because we actually we don't go to church anymore either. So
yeah,
we kind of have built spirituality and as a part of our family.
yes,
But there's a lot of stuff that says you need to go to church or you need to do this. Like you don't need any of that to pray, right? Like
right.
like you said, you can just get on your knees, pray to God, or if you believe in something else. Like I think it's a really important aspect to have in your life as a male.
Yeah. And and again, I've said this repeatedly that we don't have enough resources. We don't have enough places to go. Most of us men, we don't have a real guy friend even
Hmm.
that we can really lean on. You know, another podcast guest, a friend of his was him and his wife were getting divorced, and they had been going through counseling for 10 years, and he didn't know it,
Oh, wow.
you know. So he had been friends with this guy since I think he said since like middle school. They went to college together, everything. And he did not know that his best friend and his wife was going through, issues because we don't talk. We talk,
Mhm.
we'll get together, ha ha, giggle it up. Anything. If we're going through a situation, it's something we like to we like to joke and laugh off and everything, making it less serious than it probably is, you know.
Yes.
So and again, we whether it's your faith, whether it's, a good friend, we
Mhm.
we need we need more. And
Yes.
especially in this day and age, you know, media with, just everything going on in the world, we need to be able to lean on each other because, you know, I hate to I hate to think where some of these guys may end up because they have no community of their own,
Yes.
and like this podcasting thing, honestly, I
Mhm.
started this 3 years ago. I did 6 episodes and quit. I deleted everything, all that stuff. I'm like, this
Mhm.
isn't for me. A friend of my son's asked me to come on the show. I did. I had a good time. And then I started thinking, you know what? Let me try this again.
Mhm.
Sat down one day, tried it again, got ready to quit again. I was like, you know what? I just don't have the time in my life for this. Then I had a really good conversation with a guest, and it's like, you know what? This might be the thing I need, for my own
Yeah.
personal growth and for my ability to learn how to express myself, to be a better dad, to be a better husband, just a better person in
Mhm.
general, is kind of trying to help other people, you know.
That's so
So,
cool.
um, okay, so tell us some more about the book since I'm over
Yeah.
here rambling on.
Yeah. So it's called Autism Sucks: Finding Hope in
Okay.
the Chaos. The title is a little controversial, but what I really wanted to reflect, I had people, but when I was writing it, I went on Reddit, which was the dumbest thing I could have done, and
Yeah,
I kind of said, "Hey, I'm writing this book," and people were like, "You hate your daughter. You're saying she sucks." It's like I'm not saying she sucks. I'm saying, any parent who has an autistic kid would probably say, "Yeah, there are times where this just sucks. Like it
sucks,
just
right.
sucks." Um, yeah, so I that initially I'm like, maybe I should change the title, maybe I shouldn't put it out. But I got to a point where I was done and I'm like, I was doubting myself, kind of like you with the
Yeah.
podcast. Like this, maybe I just wrote this for myself. Maybe I don't need to put it out. Maybe I shouldn't. And I was like, you know what, I gotta pull the trigger and put it out there. So it came out in
I like the
November.
title though.
Yeah.
Me,
Oh, thank
myself,
you.
I mean, I like the title because first off, I'm not an overly sensitive person and I understand other people have, their situations.
Yeah.
But that to me, that title jumps out to me.
Thank you.
So that right there, it was the life and times of, a dad, with autism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It it sounds less interesting.
Definitely, and my goal was to be, honest, and that was the hard part, right? Because it's like there were parts where I'm like, "Do I really wanna even put this out?" Like, I
Yeah.
did talk about the, praying and hearing that you would have killed yourself, and I'm like, I don't even know if I like, it took me a long time to even tell my wife that. Like, do I really want strangers to know that about me?
Right.
So there was a lot of that stuff going on in my head, and I'm like, you know what? No, I just wanna put it out because I think there's a lot of other parents, especially dads again, that are dealing with this stuff and they probably feel alone and they don't know what to do. The other thing was just, again, I love Instagram because I think like podcasts, we've gotten a lot of value from that, about things to try. But like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of bullshit on there and like people that are like, this magic spray will heal you. And I'm like, you know what? at least want to put out what's worked for me. Like I'm not selling any of these things. So like I don't make any money off of it, but like we did see an immediate impact from doing it. So, for a new parent that just had a child get diagnosed, if they could put like a grounding mat on and get some extra sleep, like that to me is awesome. Like even if it's kind of going back to the one parent, if it can help one parent, then that's all that matters to me.
I mean, you're trying to make a positive difference, and I don't think there's enough of us, because excuse me. I don't think there's enough of us thinking about the bigger picture. You know,
Yes.
yeah, you've got a challenging situation. I've had a challenging situation. We feel like nobody else in the world could possibly understand what we're going through. But the reality is that guaranteed there's a bunch of people who understand what you're going through, or you know what, who are not where you are in your journey, and you can reach back to help them out,
Yes.
just by hearing your story.
It's funny you mentioned that. That was the other thing because it's like, our goal is to completely heal our daughter and have her talking, potty trained
Yeah,
and everything. And one of the things was like, well, am I even qualified to write this yet? Because we haven't fully healed her. But it's funny because as a reminder, it's like there's parents that are not where we're at yet that would love to be there. So that was the other reason I'm like, it's really important for me to put this out and just help, those parents that might be waking up every 2 hours or dealing with their kid biting them, biting stuff around their house, hitting them. If just one thing they do helps them, then it's literally all worth it.
yeah. So, all right. So, for the new dad or the dad that's going through something similar, what would be your first piece of advice?
I would say really take ownership of your child's health. Like, question, research everything. Like, don't just go along because one expert says it or somebody else tells you. Like, research it and see, does this make sense logically for you? Like, are you comfortable with it? That would kind of be the first thing. I am pretty high on grounding. Like, even
Yeah,
if you didn't buy a grounding mat, like just spend time outside in your bare feet. Like, go for walks in your bare feet. You'll feel better. Your child will benefit from it. Those are really the first two things. But like the unlearning of things is important too, right? Like you have
right,
to keep an open mind. Like I said, like CBD, like I delayed my daughter probably from walking on her own because I had like this preconceived notion that giving her CBD was like giving her a joint
right.
or melatonin was another one. I didn't want
Yeah,
to give her melatonin, and that was one of the other things that I mentioned. She had trouble falling asleep. Like that helped her tremendously. And I'm like, oh, she'll need it to fall asleep forever. We did it for like 3 or 6 months, and now she doesn't even need it anymore. Is falling asleep. So there were just things that as a dad, like I had to like relearn or kind of unlearn um, through just research and getting myself to a spot that's comfortable. But like I had these preconceived notions that just didn't help.
right. Paul, I like the fact that, what, you've been through this situation and you still seem very humble, about sharing information. You're not, you're not claiming to be an expert, but you genuinely seem like, hey, I want to share this information because more people need to hear it.
Thank you.
So you seem like a very genuine, down to earth guy. I love that. Um, so my next question is going to be for the married couple.
Mhm.
What's the advice you would give a married couple going through your situation?
Yeah, I would say talk, like talk it out. Find
Okay.
times to talk about what you're feeling, what your frustrations are, where you feel like the other partner isn't doing what they should be doing. You can imagine as a guy, like you said, we're fixers, right? So like
Yeah.
I want an easy solution to everything, like just do this. And there's times as the husband, I think we need to listen more, just listen and
Right.
maybe not have a solution, but listen. I think being intentional about date night, it's hard, right? Like there were years where we didn't go on dates. We become very intentional about it, even if it's not going to dinner. Like go get coffee, like find time to do something
Something.
together, any way you can. Like again,
Right.
go get coffee, get breakfast together. Go get a bagel. Like anything you can do. Like just try to carve some time out there, and then find the time together to talk. Like ours is always probably later at night, just based on the kids and everything.
Yeah.
But um, keeping the communication open is so important because that's when things I think start to fall apart if you're not talking to each other.
Right. Okay. So last question. It's not a super, well, not super, well, it is important. It is very
Mhm.
important. Um, so as a father, same question. What about for our kids? So for parents going through your
Mhm.
similar situation, you and your wife, what's your advice for, what, helping getting the kids to understand the situation, letting them know that, hey, we love you guys. We don't, just because brother or sister has whatever the situation is, how do you what would you recommend for people in this situation with their kids?
Yeah, we really tried to minimize the impact. So, still going to their sporting events, bringing her along, and just trying to manage the situation. So it's like, when we did let her watch TV, like I would download stuff on my phone because I knew she would kind of sit with me and just not run off while
Yeah,
we were trying to watch the game. Bringing food, books, toys, just anything to keep her distracted. Because I think a lot of parents will, and rightfully so, they'll maybe have their kids go, but they won't go because their child has special needs, and it's just so hard to bring them. So we really tried to not let it impact us going places, and we just take the extra time to like plan, just bring anything we can to the event
right,
that would help her sit there for 2 hours and watch the game. The other thing was just being intentional about spending time with them. We would try to incorporate when we would have to go places, like bring them along. So there was a period of time where we're in Connecticut, but we were going to New York City for treatment for her. And what we would do is bring a few kids with us for the weekend so they could like go walk through the city, um, see, whatever they wanted to do, right? Like if they wanted to go to Times Square or, go to a certain restaurant, do that. Um, when my wife has traveled to take my daughter to other places, like she's brought some of the kids along with her. So it kind of turns into a trip. So they're having fun. But a lot of it is like just explain to them like what it is, like why she's doing certain things, and just reminding them that it that's their brother or sister. They love them whether they feel like they do at that time or not.
right,
And it's just intentionality of making sure the kids get time. So it's like just like when I said like finding time to take your wife go get coffee, or what are the small pockets of time where you can devote time to that one child or something they really want to do. I try to get my daughter outside all the time. So I'll ask, the kids like, "Hey, do you want to go play basketball while we're outside?" So it's just like again trying to find ways to incorporate them into what I'm doing with her.
right. Hey, listen, again, I know I already said this, but I love this. I love
Oh,
this
thanks.
because again, we need we need examples. We need places to talk. We need places where we can just go and find tidbits of information, and you're getting it, and you're getting it from a regular person. Not somebody who's got something to gain.
Mhm.
By recommend you're not selling anything.
Yeah.
You're not selling anything. You just, what, you're giving your life experience and what's helped you and your family. And I think that's more genuine and worth more than, I know some expert rambling on for, an hour about, hey, you got to do this thing this way, because it's the only way that it works, you know, whereas,
Yes.
hey, an ordinary guy, with a wife and kids, did exactly the same thing, but he's not telling you what to do. He's telling you, hey, here's an example of what worked for me.
Yeah.
It's up to you whether you follow it or not. You know.
Yes.
So, Paul, thank you very much for coming on the show. Again, name of that book. Where can we find it?
Yeah. So Autism Sucks, Finding Hope in the Chaos is on Amazon, both as a paperback and Kindle version.
Okay, love it, Paul. I would love to have you on again. More, if anything, just for a personal update.
Yeah,
See
I
how
would
the family's
love that.
doing. And again, I enjoy the conversation, and honestly, having this kind of reach, just being able to talk to other people and whatnot, lets me know that hey, I wasn't the only person crazy enough to have a pack full of kids.
It's awesome.
It's
Yes.
outstanding. But again, hey, please wish your family the best for me. Good luck with you and your daughter. And you guys have a great rest of your Sunday.
Oh, thanks. You too.
Hey, take care. You be good
All
now.
right.
Thanks.
Bye.